All right, so for more than a decade now, Apple's iPhone launch has been this massive, predictable event, right? But what if that's all about to get thrown out the window? There's a new rumor floating around that suggests a huge shift is coming, one that could totally rewrite the playbook for Apple's biggest product. I mean, you know the drill, right? We all do. Summer wraps up, September rolls around, and bam, Tim Cook is on stage showing off the whole new iPhone family. It's like clockwork. One huge launch that gets everyone in the tech world talking for months. Okay, but now, what if that predictable September event just got sliced in half? What if you had to wait months and months longer for the iPhone models that most people actually buy? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today. It's the heart of this new rumor that says Apple is thinking about completely shaking up its biggest launch of the year. So let's break this down. What is this shakeup all about? And look, we're not talking about some minor little change here. This is a potential tectonic shift in how and when Apple actually releases the iPhone. And this isn't just some random rumor from the internet. The source is none other than Mark Gurman, who is, a legend when it comes to Apple leaks. He's saying that starting in 2026, the fall launch is going to be a premium-only affair. And what about the regular, more affordable iPhones? Yeah, those would get delayed all the way until the next spring. And when you look at it on a timeline, you really see just how big of a change this would be. We'd go from this one giant launch in the fall to a totally new split schedule. The super expensive Pro models get all the attention for the holidays, and then the standard models would get their own big launch event in the spring. Okay, so here's exactly how that split would reportedly look. In the fall of 2026, Apple would roll out the high-end stuff, the iPhone 18 Pro, the 18 Pro Max, and, get this, the very first iPhone Fold. But if you're looking for the standard iPhone 18 or one of the cheaper models, you're going to have to wait all the way until spring 2027. And this brings us to a really, really important number for pretty much everyone. If this plan happens in the fall of 2026, the cheapest new iPhone you could walk out of a store with would be the iPhone 17 Pro, which would start at around $1,099. That's a huge deal. All of the new iPhones under $1,000 gone from that huge holiday shopping season? Okay, so a change this massive obviously brings up a huge question. Why? Why would Apple even think about doing this? Well, according to the reports, it's not just one thing. There are actually 5 pretty solid strategic reasons behind this whole idea. So the whole strategy really comes down to these 5 points: taking some pressure off their suppliers, balancing out their revenue during the year, dealing with the limited supply of new chips, bumping up product quality, and maybe the most interesting one, creating hype all year round. Let's dig into each of these and see what they're all about. So first up, let's talk production and profit. You have to imagine the sheer scale of the operation to launch a new iPhone. It's insane. Dropping the whole lineup at once puts a crazy amount of strain on the entire global supply chain. So by splitting the launch, you ease that pressure. It also smooths out their sales numbers for Wall Street. So instead of one massive quarter and then a drop-off, you get a much more even, predictable flow of cash all year long. And then there's the tech itself, specifically the new A20 chip. This thing is supposed to be an absolute beast, built on a super advanced 2-nanometer process. But here's the catch with cutting-edge tech. It's really hard to make a lot of them at first. The supply is limited. So by staggering the launch, Apple can take the chips they do have and put them into the most expensive Pro models first, the ones that make them the most money. And there's also quality control. When you're not in a mad dash to build millions of every single model at once, you just have more time. It gives the engineers more breathing room to really polish everything. And hopefully that means they can avoid those embarrassing launch problems, like the whole paint gate thing that was reported with some iPhone 17 models. All right, so from Apple's side of the table, this all sounds pretty logical, right? But is it a perfect, foolproof plan? Not so fast. There are some really big potential downsides here that analysts are already starting to talk about. And that really is the million-dollar question here. On paper, the plan makes a ton of sense. But is it actually a guaranteed win? Analysts, like the folks over at WCC Tech, are pointing out that messing with your most successful product launch ever comes with some pretty huge risks. And the biggest criticism really comes down to one word: cannibalization. The fear is that if you take all your more affordable, super popular models and shove them into a new spring launch, they stop competing with phones from Samsung or Google. Instead, they just start competing with each other. And this is really where the gamble is. On one hand, Apple's goal is to sell more of those expensive Pro models in the fall. But the huge risk is that you're going to tick off the millions of people who just want the new base model and really don't want to wait another 6 months to get it. A new spring event sounds exciting, sure, but it might not bring in new customers. It might just move sales from one part of the year to another.
I mean, let's be honest, the standard iPhone is an absolute blockbuster. It's the one that sells in massive numbers. So you have to ask, is Apple really willing to weaken its most important sales season by yanking its most popular and affordable new phone out of the lineup? It's a massive, massive gamble.
Okay, so after all that, let's bring it back home. What does all of this actually mean for you, the person who might actually be buying one of these things? So here are the key takeaways for you. First, that big September iPhone event could become a Pro-only luxury affair. Second, the cheapest new iPhone you could get in the fall might suddenly cost over $1,000. Third, we could be looking at a brand new, major Apple launch every single spring. And finally, if you were planning on getting the standard iPhone 18, well, you might have to wait all the way until 2027. And that really leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Is Apple making a genius move here to completely redefine its dominance for the next decade, or is this a reckless gamble that risks pushing away its most loyal customers, all for the sake of bigger profit margins? It's a bet that could literally change the entire smartphone world, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see who wins. Thanks for diving into this with me.